welcome to my monthly Buddhist podcast, What's Your Favourite Cake? A podcast about how I use the daily practice of Nichiren Daishonin's Buddhism in my life. This is my journey and how I use my Buddhist practice to enhance my life, but with the hope that I can inspire you on your journey too. What's Your Favourite Cake is available on Spotify as well as my YouTube channel, which is also where you'll find videos with audio that we can all chant along to, as well as Buddhist study videos with my take on various Goshos, as well as basics of Buddhism topics too. Before we start, I'd like to say a big thank you to all the people supporting me through my Nigel the Buddha Patreon account, because none of my content would be possible without you. Hi folks, welcome to this two-parter podcast. We planned just the one part, but we've rambled on for hours, so two parts it is then. So I mentioned that Alice is an atheist, and I remember early on in our relationship, I said, well, so am I.
Yeah.
But it means much more to you than just I'm an atheist.
My view on atheism, that it was a lack of religion, and it isn't, it's a lack of belief in God, or a God. And so Nigel technically is an atheist. He's a Buddhist, and Buddhists don't worship gods, so Nigel is atheist. But to me, atheism, well, and socialism in a way as well, but atheism is my religion. I am extremely passionate about my atheism, in the same way he is about his Buddhism.
I think sometimes I feel more comfortable. I don't want to say pigeonhole people, but give them a label.
Right.
But because when I found out about Buddhism, and well, actually I won't go too into that because the next podcasts are to do with how I met the practice. I rambled on so much that it's a two-parter. So,
as will this be, probably.
Can you imagine getting to the edit stage and I realise it's a two-parter?
Yeah.
So, and then I'm going to have to record. Hi folks, welcome to this two-parter podcast. I would joke, but I'm keeping that in.
Absolutely.
And if I have to do a two-parter, I'll probably be laughing throughout.
Yeah.
And then not until I get to this part, and then I realise why I'm laughing. So funny. Okay, so we're discussing our different belief systems, and when I first found out about Buddhism, I thought it was just meditating. So I started to meditate and, try to, because I've got ADHD. It's a very difficult thing to do when you concentrate on something. But every day I meditated. I didn't meditate for long until I met the practice, but I definitely thought, where's the action?
Yeah.
Where's the action to say I'm Buddhist?
Yeah.
And I don't practice this Buddhism because I like the label.
No.
But my point is, that's what I thought about, maybe you wanted to label yourself as an atheist, but it's actually much more. It's a much more of just a name for you.
Yeah.
But for me, Buddhism and atheism are really quite similar. If that's the case, why don't you chant? What's the, I'm not questioning you in an aggressive manner, but there's a reason why you don't chant.
Well, atheism isn't a practice. Atheism is a belief system. So, I believe in no gods. I don't follow any religion. I'm a good person because it's the right thing to be, not because of any religion telling me to be a good person. I don't need or seek guidance from others. I don't need or seek written teachings. I just am who I choose to be, and it's all in my hands. And I think for me, that's my atheism. I'm not sure that's a great definition of what atheism means to everybody. It's a belief system for me. It's something I truly strongly believe in, but for others it's a lack of beliefs, and that's how they feel about being atheist. And they would maybe not even class themselves as atheists. They just don't believe in God, but they wouldn't put a label on it. For me, because I grew up around religion and going to churches and going to clubs at churches, and my best friend's dad was a reverend and my mum's very religious, and for me, I needed to define the shift that I felt when I was 13 or 14. I needed to define that light bulb moment where I realised there was no God. I wasn't going to heaven. Nobody was judging me. Nobody was going to make me behave in a certain way and judge me for behaving in a certain way. I had myself and my own moral compass to rely on. And I needed that defining in my head. And that was atheism. I learned about atheism and felt very passionately about it, as I still do.
And it's about taking responsibility, isn't it?
For some people, it's just a general meh about religion and religious practice and religious beliefs. But that's not the case for me. For me, it's a belief system that relies on personal accountability and personal freedoms. I believe that I am on my own, that I can make my own decisions, and that I only have to answer to myself. And I am a good person because I choose to be. And that's the most important aspect of it, I think. Choosing to be a good person because it's the right thing to do, not because somebody's going to judge me or somebody says in a book that I should be. Not that there's anything wrong with those things. They mean nothing to me personally. So I need a different belief system that works for me, as all belief systems should. I mean, Christianity, has lots of people brought up in Christianity and it doesn't work for them, and they leave it and they find other things, and it's the same with Buddhism. And you find what works for you.
I suppose with all religions, there's way more things that unite us than disunite.
I think that's always going to be the case with all religious people and all non-religious people that have a moral code and ethics. If you're a person that's trying to find goodness in others and trying to be a good person yourself, you're going to be united with others of all religions and belief systems and non-belief systems who are looking for the same. Absolutely. We're all on the same path to self-discovery and kindness and compassion, aren't we?
Absolutely. Sometimes think, I've said to you this so many times, I am a practicing Buddhist, but sometimes think that you're more Buddhist than I am. I mean, I ask you this, who moans the most about others?
Certainly not me. I don't think there's anything wrong with moaning about others occasionally. I think we're all, human beings, aren't we? You can have a good old moan every now and then. I'd be lying if I said I didn't moan every now and then, but try not to judge other people's behaviour and hope that they extend me the same courtesy. And I think most people do. I don't think most people spend a huge amount of time caring about the way others act.
One of my favourite letters that Nichiren Daishonin wrote to his followers is a Gosho called On Attaining Buddhahood in This Lifetime. In the letter, he really strongly encourages Toki Jonin to never seek Buddhahood outside of himself. He writes, "If you seek enlightenment outside yourself, then you're performing even 10,000 practices and 10,000 good deeds will be in vain. It is like the case of a poor man who spends night and day counting his neighbour's wealth but gains not even half a coin." I love that. It's really beautiful, poetic. Yeah.
It is. I'm not sure I answered your question about why I don't chant. Shall I? I think I went off on a tangent, and because I do that as well. It's not just Nigel that does this. So shall I answer that? I think I just went off on a tangent about atheism.
I mean, you can do, or I can just edit it. Get you to say all the words in the world, and then just put them together, and I can incriminate you.
The reason the reason I don't chant is because I'm not Buddhist. I'm not an SGI member. I have chanted. So when I first met Nigel, he was discussing Buddhism with me because, of course, I was fascinated because it's a fascinating religion, a practice, a philosophy, whatever you want to call it. And he said, well, why don't you try chanting? It might bring you peace. It might, you might find you enjoy it. You might find it gives you something. So I did. I chanted for 100 days, only 5 or 10 minutes a day. And I just didn't enjoy it. Whatever it does for Nigel, whatever it does for other Buddhists is completely wonderful, but it didn't do that for me. I found it not enjoyable, but I wanted to give it my best effort, so I kept going, and I think I made it to 96 of the 100 days.
I didn't know about that.
I didn't enjoy it, and it didn't do anything for me, which I was kind of disappointed about in a way. But it's okay that we all have different things that work for us, and I'm really pleased that chanting works for Nigel, and I'm really pleased that it works for other Buddhists, and that it brings you all joy and enlightenment and brings you closer to your Buddhahood and reveals your Buddhahood.
Yeah, and I remember having the tiniest tinge of disappointment that you didn't want to continue chanting, but
I think there's a tendency in our society to think just because something's not for me, it must be rubbish. So I saw a conversation online yesterday about Taylor Swift, and there were lots of men on Twitter saying, she's rubbish, she's not a good songwriter, she's useless. And she's not useless, she's an excellent songwriter, and she's not for them, and that's fine. She's not for me either, I don't enjoy her music, but I can appreciate the artist without appreciating the art. I can still feel that she's a talented person. I don't have to put her down and insult her because I don't enjoy her music. And I think it's the same with religion. Christianity wasn't for me. I don't feel like it is terrible and that it's bad and that the people that practice it are wrong. And it's the same with Buddhism. It's not for me, but that doesn't mean I can't respect it and admire those that do practice Buddhism.
birth, aging, sickness and death are the inescapable realities of life and the eternal questions humankind has attempted to resolve. How can we create the greatest value amidst a reality that is impermanent and in constant flux? It is the search for answers to these questions that led to the birth of Buddhism. And that's a quote by SGI President Daisaku Ikeda on the theme of life and death, which is an interesting topic, isn't it?
It certainly is, yeah. It's one that we discuss a lot and don't have the same views on.
Yeah, that's right. I remember early on in our relationship, and I was saying something like, karmically, we've always been together and we'll always be together. And do you remember what you said?
I don't remember what I said, but I know what's going to happen after I die.
Which is?
Nothing.
There you go. So in my viewpoint is life is eternal, and in Alice's, in your...
It's finite, yes.
Yeah.
It hasn't.
So yeah, the Buddhist view of death, and life is it's eternal, that our life force continues through phases of, or cycles of birth and death.
Mm.
So I wondered if you could explain, most of the people listening to this and watching on YouTube will be Buddhists.
Yeah.
But can I ask you why you have this view and how you came to it?
I think how I came to it is I was 13 or 14 when I realised there was no God and that there was nobody judging me or encouraging me or, whatever gods do. And a big part of that was realising that death is the end. And I think the reason I came to that conclusion for myself was because it brings me great joy. I think in the quote you said that those questions are, I'm paraphrasing now obviously, but it said that the questions are responsible for the birth of Buddhism. And I think those eternal questions of life and birth and aging and death are the starting point for every religion, because we're, as a species, human beings are questioning. We want to know what's going to happen, and we want to think about what's going to happen and why it happens, and and we want to make sense of the world around us and the lives that we lead. And I was in that stage of making sense of the world around me and my life and the lives of those around me at 13 or 14. As I think is the case with lots of teenagers. They have these existential thoughts where they think about life and death in a different way, and they discover who they are in relation to those big questions. And I realised that my life is finite, and I've only got this one chance, and this one chance to be happy and to be the person I want to be and to create the life I want to create and to live in a way that I want to live. That was a true epiphany that gave me such incredible comfort, and it was a light bulb that went off, and it brings me joy to know that this is it. And I know that isn't the case for a lot of people, but for me it is.
Yeah, I remember being of that age. I must have been 13 or 14, and I was going through a hard time. I think my dad had been violent again. And I remember sitting on the floor, or kneeling on the floor with my arms on my bed, and looking up and praying, "Please help me, God."
Yeah.
I said that just a few times, and it freaked me out.
Right.
I think it freaked me out because it's like a fear of someone can see me, but I can't see them.
Right, yeah.
It's like, I really, really feel uncomfortable at night when it's dark, having the curtains open. I wonder if that's the thing, if that's it. But certainly, death truly, genuinely frightens me.
Yes.
I think it's the unknown, similar to not knowing who's looking at me.
Right, yeah.
It's the unknown. The fear of the unknown genuinely stresses me.
Right.
But you just said you feel differently.
Some people, they feel they know that there's a God and that he's watching down on them and looking after them. And they know this with all their being and all their heart. And I never did. It never sat right for me. It never felt true. It never felt right. It never felt authentic. And I'm a logical person. I'm autistic, and I saw no proof. Obviously, a lot of people don't need to see physical proof, or they feel they do see physical proof of a God or of something after death that's going to come. And I never did. And so when I realised that there is no God, there is no afterlife, that this is it, and I know that is the case, and so I don't have to worry anymore. There's no fear, there's no concerns, there's no thinking about what's going to happen. We've had many discussions about funerals and things, and I can say with my hand on my heart, I don't care what you do with my body, I don't care what you do, whether you have a funeral, whether you don't have a funeral, whether you bury me or cremate me, I don't care.
No, I'm just going to bag your insurance money.
Excellent, I hope you do. Because I won't be there, that's just a body, and my light will have gone out. Things that happen to me after I'm gone are none of my concern. But you have very different feelings on that, don't you? And you have very different feelings on death and the end of life, this life, and what happens. So what do you believe?
I think what's most important in all this is what gives us most comfort, greatest comfort.
Yes.
And it gives me the most comfort to believe the Buddhist view on death, which is life is eternal, that there is no beginning and no end, especially as I feel very strongly that I have been here before. Well, my life force, that is. I don't believe I've been here before in this body. It's like when I see nature, especially trees, when they go through the seasons, throughout autumn and winter, they look like they're slowly dying, and spring, it's like they come to life again. So I think, well, why is our life force any different? That's definitely the belief that gives me the most comfort anyway. But whatever our beliefs in what happens after we die, the most important thing is how we use that belief to actually live our lives.
Yes. I mean, imagine spending your whole life worrying about dying. You don't live your life. That would be a tragedy, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. I totally agree. which is very much what Daisaku Ikeda is saying in this quote. He writes, "An awareness and understanding of death raises our life state. When we are cognizant of the reality and inevitability of death, we begin to seek the eternal and become determined to make the most valuable use of each moment of life." That's so beautiful, and I understand and respect your viewpoint a lot more. So, Alice, thank you so much for your input.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And you know what? We got through it without even having a single argument.
No, I think we had an argument.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we definitely did.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we definitely did.
No, we didn't. You have been listening to What's Your Favourite Cake, a monthly podcast about how I use Buddhism in my life. Come chant with me on my YouTube channel when I go live, and check out my Inspirational Quote video shorts too. Thank you so much for your support.